Well, hello there. Karen here from KarenTurpin.com. And I just wanted to share something that came through with you today, because it's very important, I think, and worth talking about. And many people have asked me for my thoughts, my feelings of where we are currently in these timelines with these energies. So as I say, I was meditating, this kind of communication came through, transmission, sensing, feeling. It's just in my words, and I'd like to share that with you, because these are very precious times for Mother Earth as she goes through her transition from the darkness that has been brought upon her into the light from where she came. And we are all being called to choose our station of identity now, our alignment, because there really is no going back now. This decision is final. And we can say that we choose light and truth, but words don't always match the vibration that's really going on underneath. And it's very easy for people to lie, as we have seen. But vibration and frequency don't lie. And, you know, God or source is not going to be fooled by words. People may be, but God won't. And so we hear the words of these so-called leaders, but it's the blackened heart that we feel. And we know to whom they have pledged their allegiance. They have blood on their hands. And in the eyes of God, no ill deed goes unnoticed. Some would say unpunished. And they will pay heavily for their sins against humanity and against the Christ, that Christ consciousness that we hold within us. Many things are happening behind the scenes to correct this trajectory into further darkness, which is clearly where they want us to head, where they're moving towards with their agendas. Their evil reign will fail. In fact, it has already failed for most of us. But how we live our lives now also dictates our individual outcome into the next timeline. And some people have already made their choice. They chose to align to this evil, and their fate is actually already sealed. So they could have chosen to feel into their heart and be led by their highest spiritual power. They could have chosen to be led by the light of truth, but instead they allowed themselves to be infiltrated at a mind level. So they chose their 3D mind over their 5D multi-dimensional spirit. And all of these years that many of these people, certainly people that I know that are in, my circles of people, all of the years they spent on their new age and their spiritual teachings, and they still choose to stay anchored onto an old collapsing timeline because they would not get out of their head and into their heart. And they've made their choices, many of them already now. Everyone's already been given the opportunity, right? Other people, of course, quite literally have no idea that their spirit even exists. It's way too late for them. But we are at the end of times here. We are also at the beginning of time too. But we're moving into a whole new reality, a whole new state of being. And we will be living in a world that we don't even recognize yet. And that's a good thing. When you look back at history on this planet at that 3D level, when you see what has been done to humanity, why would we choose to continue to live in that when we have an opportunity to move? So it requires this move. It requires that we align more to our individual truth, of who we are truly at a soul level, consciousness level, of what we came here to do as well. And for all of that, if we're not in alignment with that magnetic pull back into the old timeline still presents as a very real threat when you're still so much in your head. You're being pulled back because that's the magnetic mind pulling you back to what it already knows, as opposed to allowing the heart to lead you forward into what I see as magnificence. So behind the scenes, there is movement, no doubt. We have a lot of good guys here working for light and for truth. And in fact, long before a seedling breaks through the soil in its reach for the light, it's already been very, very active underground. And this is true for our current times right now, I believe. So while we continue to suppress truth and light, we remain in struggle because we are aligning to that old collapsing timeline. So we must stand up in truth now. No more appeasing and soothing a lie, because your words must match your heart, it must match your actions, and your frequency, your alignment into the new timeline literally depends on that. So what are you really aligning to with your thoughts, your actions, your feelings, your deeds? And we know that in the birth of anything beautiful, there is a process to go through. And we are in that process now. And we know that that process is not always painless. Many people are in struggle. Many people are fighting literally for survival. And there is a place for all of that. And it may be your place to be out there protesting. It may not be your place. We each have an individual part to play in this, but the most important part is truth and light, but truth, speaking up, standing up, and having the courage to speak your truth. In our history, if you're listening to this, you've probably also, along with me, been burnt at the stake for the wisdom and the knowledge that we held within us. So our fear of speaking out is very real. We have kind of cellular memory of last time we spoke out in truth, right? So that's very real for us. But the question is, will you stand for truth this time around or not? Or will you hide? Will you keep quiet? Will you suppress? And will you allow this to just continue? Because we can see what's going on. When we stand together, we are strong. When we turn our back on truth, we basically sell our soul. We sell ourselves out. We sell our soul. And we become just like them. Spineless, weak, powerless, enslaved. Is that what your soul came here for? So which timeline will you choose to be on now? So without doubt, the energy on the planet is chaotic. It's almost draining. And it feels like we've been in the trenches for eons of time. And in fact, we have, because we've had lifetimes of this. We've got this 26,500 year cycle that is coming to completion now. When will this end, we ask? Well, it ends when enough of us have woken up and shifted to this new timeline. And I know that that is really frustrating when you've been doing this for 20 or 30 years already. I know that personally. But this new timeline is right there. It's waiting for us. we can shift into it at any time. In fact, we can almost live there now. Certainly in our heart and in our consciousness, we can live there now. That timeline is waiting for us. It's not the other way around. It's not us waiting for it to arrive. Sorry, it's not us sitting here waiting for it to arrive. It is here. It's waiting for us. We have to be the ones to jump on that bus. And it's really like tipping the scales in our favor. When enough of us tip the scales, that's it, we're done. Part of the problem I see is that so many of us light workers, so-called, that we've been talking about this stuff in our classes, in our teachings for 10, 15, 20 years, they've fallen into the trap. They basically abandoned us at the time that we most needed them on Team Light, and they've moved the other way. And that's been very, very disappointing to witness. And really, when enough of us waken and stand in our truth, and we stand for the light, and we call out what we see happening around us, that's when we tip the scales. The scales represent justice, and it's about time for that, don't you think? It's time that these perpetrators of evil are brought to justice for what they have done to humanity. Because the repercussions of their actions are yet to fully play out. We haven't seen the worst of this yet. Some people have already passed, others are going to be following. And we will have to witness this suffering. We will need a strong spiritual backbone to witness the fallout of what they have already put in place. We will witness suffering on this planet for years to come because people chose this. They chose this experience. They chose that path, and they will leave, but we will have to be the ones here witnessing it. So brace yourself. And we have to find a way to handle that, because we don't want grief for the loss of humanity to consume us. So I understand that we have several planets retrograding at the moment. And so this is a really great time to really go back and have a look at where we've got to. Tie up any of those loose ends, realign, refocus, so that you can go forwards with more clarity and conviction of purpose. This is a really good time to do some deep inner work. Don't let yourself get distracted, because there's so much going on in the world right now. People are scrambling. They're scrambling for their survival. They're in grief at what they've lost. We've lost our freedom to a degree. They've locked us in our homes. We're locked up. We can't travel. We've lost our businesses. We've lost our human connection. We've lost. There is a grief process that goes with that. But recognize where it is. And there's collective grief too. If you're an empath, if you're sensitive, it's not just yours that you're feeling. You are feeling this collectively. Your neighborhood, your country, your planet. Everyone is in a collective grief period. And of course, everything is ramping up around us to distract us. You can't risk getting distracted. You can't risk getting lost in the darkness, because that will lower your vibration. And right now, you need to be keeping your vibration high. It's very, very important time in your ascension process right now. So this alignment piece is very important. So notice where you're spending your time, your energy, your focus. Focus on how you could make a difference in the world to other people, how you could spread some light, how you could help another person, how you could just support another person, how you could bring some joy into their day. Don't get caught up in things that don't belong to you, that are distracting you from where you know you need to go, or from where you know you need to be. And as I always say, it's really important to keep your eye on the ball, keep your eye on your opponent, because sometimes we kind of have to bob and weave a little bit. That's what being a spiritual warrior is all about. So what's your goal? To live in light or to live in the darkness? So keep your mind focused on where you're headed, on where you want to go. Move beyond your limited 3D mind and see yourself as a powerful spirit, a creator, and the owner of a magnificent mind that can create pretty much anything you want to create when you release yourself from the heaviness of that darkness that is threatening to consume all of us. Let go of what keeps you stuck, locked, heavy, and realize that there's so much more that you could be participating in here that will really help to make this a better world. So focus on kindness, on caring, supporting each other, others just like you. And this is a great time to find your community, your tribe, the people that really align to you. So open up your heart and allow other people to join you, because people are searching right now, and many people are feeling very alone because we've lost that human connection. And very often, because this is a spiritual awakening that we've been going through, and many people have shifted their vibration, their state of being, and have found that the people that they were in connection with before, they just can't find a meeting point anymore. It's like they're on different pages. So people are alone. People are wanting human connection at a frequency, a vibration that perfectly matches theirs. And you could be that person for them. You could be that person for a group. And I feel that this time now is about finding our gifts and talents, our skills, taking them out and sharing them with the world, because that's really what you're here for. So feel into who your right people are. Keep elevating yourself, raising your vibration. If the people in your life feel heavy, then look for lighter folk to spend time with, and trust your intuition to guide you, because this is all about alignment. Don't stay in places and spaces that you've outgrown, that are heavy, that are pulling you down. Don't stay there just for the sake of convenience. And if you are a spiritual warrior, you probably are if you're listening to this, it's time to stand up and be counted. You may have to leave people behind for a while, but consciousness never ceases to exist. Sorry about that. Benji's decided to join the party. Consciousness never ceases to exist. And the people that you leave behind will be okay. They'll be okay where they choose to be. But you are free to choose. And you know that you have to trust your heart in order to do that. So we're seeing legal cases coming up, and it's important that we pray that truth and light prevails in these cases, because they do have an impact on our life. And the energy is beginning to unlock, and this is a great opportunity for us to rise now. So don't be inactive, do your inner work. There's no growth without this inner work. It's not about rushing around in 3D. This is now because we're moving through 4D, 5D, multi-dimensional levels. And if you proceed with no spiritual awareness or human connection, you will lock yourself into an old timeline that is collapsing right now. So if you can't see what's happening here on the planet, Yet, if you can't see what they've done to humanity, then you've probably participated in it. Your consciousness has fed the energy that has created this devastation upon our planet. And that's your alignment there. You're probably not in that group because you wouldn't be listening to me. Is there still time to change? Yes, there is. But it's a tiny window, and I'm thinking weeks, maybe a month. But do your inner work now, raise your vibration, and just sincerely ask for you to find that perfect alignment of where you need to be, of who you need to be. Fully embrace your spirit, embrace God, and ask God to be in your heart. Thank you for listening. Bye for now.